What's up, guys? Welcome to Demo with Mo. I'm your host, Monique Simmons. We'll be discussing dating, engaged, and married objectives from a young Christian's perspective. Are you guys ready? Let's dive in. Hi, guys. Thanks for tuning in to a new episode of Demo with Mo. Our topic for today: what's your money language? Let's dive in. What's up, guys? Today's topic is what's your money language? We're going to be discussing different ways and different views of how we see finances and how they can affect us in our relationships or marriages. Dr. Kenneth Doyle, who's a financial psychologist, he wrote this article about the different money languages. And according to Dr. Doyle, there's 4 money languages. The first one is the driver. To the driver, money means success. Money protects against the fear of incompetence. With the driver, the more money, the more confident they feel. The second one is the aimable. With the aimable, money means love. Relationships and people are the focus of their financial desire. Thirdly, the analytic. The analytic views money as a means to security. The analytic is well structured and well planned. And the fourth one, the expressive. Money means acceptance and respect. Money purchases the respect and admiration of others. They see money as a way to relate to certain type of people. And these are the different money languages that Dr. Kenneth Doyle discussed. And based on his study, we all have a different view of money. We come into this world with our different views on how we see money. And it's no right or wrong way when we're discussing our money languages and the different ways that we view money. I don't want you to hear the different languages and think one is better than the other, because it's not. It's just our view of money and how we see money personally. One is not better than the other one. It's just your personal view of money. So when I gave you the different descriptions of these money languages, were you able to pick out which one you were? By hearing those examples, were you able to tell what your money language is? I'm personally an aimable. That's how I show love. When I spend money, I want to do it on things that I love, things that show people in my life that I love them. I love going on vacations with my family. I love doing trips. I love doing outings. I like to buy stuff that's fun, stuff that we're going to enjoy. That's my language. That's not wrong of me. And if my spouse has a different one, his money language is not wrong from mine. This really helps us to understand our outlook and our view on money, because when we understand our partners or our own outlooks on money or views of money, we're better able to understand their perspective and where they're coming from and why they do things the way that they do them. And again, it's no right or wrong, because money, the topic of money, discussing finances, this can be a hard topic for a lot of couples. And it's because we want or assume people view and see money the same way we do, or we want them to view or see money the same way we do. But that's not going to be the case, because we all have a different money language. Most of the time, we or our spouse or our partner have different money languages, which is great because one will balance out the other. Imagine being married or in a relationship with someone that has the same money language as you. What if you guys were both analytic? Money means security to you. That means all you do is save. You guys would never have fun. You'll just have a whole bunch of money in the bank and nothing to show for it. Or what if you guys were both amiables? That means you like to show love with money. Okay, you guys could do all the fun things and go out and enjoy life. But on a rainy day, you won't have anything in your bank account. You wouldn't have been able to plan for the future. It's always good to have that perspective that just because my partner or my spouse is different from me, there's nothing wrong with that. We balance out one another. If you're the analytic and you like to save money and you like to make sure that we're set for a rainy day, and I'm an amiable and I like to have fun and I like us to enjoy doing things together and having a good time, well, I'm going to make sure we have fun and you're going to make sure we set up for the future. We would balance one another out. So we have to have a different outlook or perspective when we're discussing finances or having a conversation about money, and understanding where our partner is coming from, and our partner being able to understand where we're coming from, because it's no right or wrong with the money languages. It's about understanding that person's perspective and their view and seeing where they're coming from. That way we're able to be sympathetic and we kind of get their motive or their view on it, and it's not like ours, and that's totally okay. Each one of these money languages can have weaknesses. With the driver, their weakness could be over dependence on money for their self-esteem. Meaning when they have money, when they're making money, that's where their self-esteem comes from. They feel good. As long as I have money and I'm making money, everything is good. But when I don't have money, if I'm depending on money for my self-esteem, what you think gonna happen when I don't have money? Now I feel bad and it's the end of the world and I don't know what I'm gonna do and I'm just all out of wax. But we have to learn how to depend on God. Because even with these money languages, and even though we come into the world with these different views and different outlooks on money, we have to learn to trust God with it all. No matter what my view is on money or what my outlook is on money, I have to remember that all things come from God. All that I have belongs to Him. I'm just a steward over it. It doesn't even belong to me. So even though this may be my view or my outlook on money, I don't have to get caught up how I feel about myself being dependent on money, because my dependence is on God. With the amiable, their weakness could be poor money management and unprepared for the long term. I told you guys, with the amiable, that's how they like to show love. There's their money language or their view or outlook on money. They like to enjoy life. They like to celebrate others. They like to do for others. They like to have a good time. But if we're not careful, and if that's all we want to do, and we never put up money for a rainy day, or we never set aside or make sure we've put something up, then we don't have anything to show for it. We have a poor money management, and when something happens in the future, we're not prepared for it. So all of these different money languages, even though I told you there's no wrong or right one to have, we have to be careful with our weaknesses with these different money languages. We have to learn, even with our outlook and our different views on money and finances, we have to learn to trust God and depend on God when it comes to all of this. But we're going to talk more about that. For the analytic, their weakness could be they're insensitive to the needs of others or the voice of God. Okay, so I told you with the analytic, money means security to them. If they have money in the bank, they feel secure. Everything is all good. But don't mess with their money in the bank now. And when it comes to that, if all you care about is being your money in the bank making you feel secure, what about when you run across people that have needs? As a Christian now, don't get me wrong, we do have to save money and we want to plan for the future, but our concern has to be for God's people. We have to be concerned with people of the world when things come up, when there's someone and God is landing on my heart that I need to donate, or I need to give, or I need to help someone. If my weakness is that I become insensitive to the needs of people, I may not even see that there's a need. I may not even care that there's a need. And I become insensitive to the voice of God. So when God is putting it on my heart or encouraging me to do these things, I'm not listening to Him, because in my mind, I got to make sure my money's still in the bank, because money means security for me. So we have to be very careful with this when we're analytic, that we don't become insensitive to the needs of people around us and stop hearing God's voice or listening to what God is telling us to do. For the expressive, Their weakness could be using money to hide fears and insecurities. I told you with the expressive, money means acceptance and respect. They like to look good. These are the people, they may not even have any money in the bank, but the way that they look, you wouldn't even be able to tell. They concerned about what others think about them. That's the way that they view money. It's just a means to how people can see me, the respect that I'll get, the admiration that I'll get from others. That's their view. So their weakness could be they're using these things to hide what's really going on with them. And we can't do that. Those fears or those insecurities, we have to begin to deal with those things. I don't want to use money or those monetary things that I can buy with money to try to hide what's really going on with me. Because as a Christian or a believer, I want to be able to consult God. I want to be real about who I am. I don't want to pretend. I don't want to be a man pleaser where I'm only concerned about what people think about me, but I want to be able to show up every day in the world as myself, as who I really am, the true me, and not to put on for anybody. So with all of these money languages that Dr. Kenneth Doyle discussed, there can be a weakness in all of them. But the way to avoid those things is to begin to submit them to God. We have to be able to admit our weaknesses. As I told you guys, I'm an amiable. So if I'm not careful, I could be so caught up in planning vacations and doing fun stuff for my family that I haven't put money aside for a rainy day or for something that may come up, because anything can happen. People say we only live once. Yeah, that is true. But it's so much that can come up even in your day-to-day life as you're living that one life. So I have to be very careful with that. So for me, I admit that. I admit that could be a weakness for me, that I could fall into temptation of that I'm so concerned with showing my love through monetary things and making sure that my family is enjoying life, that I may get caught up in not making sure that I've planned for a rainy day. So I have to go to God and I have to admit that. And not only do I have to go to God and admit that, I have to talk to my spouse, or you have to talk to your spouse or your partner about your weakness, because I told you when our money languages are different, we can balance one another out. So if I know that's my weakness, I can go to my partner or my spouse and let them know so they can hold me accountable in that area or help me to make sure I don't fall into the temptation of that weakness. One of the issues with us and with our different money languages, or not even just money languages, but finances, period, when we're in a relationship or a marriage, money is usually the last area we give God lordship in. Monique, what do you mean by that? Money is that one thing a lot of people, even as Christians now, that they want to control. That's an area in their life that they're not ready to give over to God, because giving God lordship means he's in control of that. If he's Lord over that, that means you're not. If you're not Lord over, you don't control it. And a lot of people aren't ready for that. They're not ready to give over that control to God in their finances. But God could do so much more with our finances than we ever could. And remember, we're just stewards over it. It doesn't even belong to you. It all belongs to God. And he's just giving us stewardship over it to take care of it while we're here on this side. I'm going to give us some practical ways on how we can begin to discuss finances in our relationships or our marriage that will help us in the long run. 1, respect that your partner sees money differently. Matthew 7:12 says, "So in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you, for this sums up the law and the prophets." When we're talking to one another and when we're discussing our finances, we can't be so caught up in trying to make our partner or our spouse view money the same way we do. We can't be trying to talk them into doing what we want them to do, but we have to respect our partners and respect them in knowing that we view money differently, and that's okay. So when we're having these discussions, you don't have to fly off the handle because your partner or your spouse didn't see it the way you did, or they didn't understand it the way you did, or they didn't handle the finances the way you thought they should have, the way you would have done it. No, we have to respect them enough to know that we don't view money the same, and that's okay. But now we need to sit down and have a conversation. And when we have this conversation, now I'm going to go into it treating you as if I would want you to treat me. You want someone to listen to your views. You want someone to understand where you're coming from. You want someone to really know your motives and why you do things the way that you do those things. We have to begin to show our partner or our spouse that same respect. The same way you want them to hear you, you have to hear them. The same way you want them to talk to you and explain it to you without yelling, without getting angry, the same way we have to do. Treat others the way you want to be treated. I know we were all taught that growing up. Second point, work together. No one person should dominate the finances. One partner may be better at keeping up with the books, paying the bills on time, money management, but both partners should know and be a part of the decision making. All financial decisions should be made together. Dominance will always impact the relationship or marriage in a negative way. We cannot be dominant over one another. Yes, you may be better at money management. Yes, you may remember to pay the bills on time. Yes, you may be good with numbers and keeping up with the books. And that's an awesome thing. Kudos to you. That's your area where you may need to handle the finances. That means you keep up with the books, you pay the bills, you do those things, but you don't dominate over your partner because that's an area that you're good in. You guys still have to work together. You still have to make the decisions together. That's just your strong fit. Let's say one partner is better at cooking than the other partner. Does that mean that they make all the meal decisions by themselves? You don't ever get to put any input on what you guys are going to eat or what you may have a taste for? It's the same way with our finances. In no area of our marriage or our relationship does one partner get to dominate the other partner just because that's an area of strong suit for you. No, we still have to sit down together. We still have to make decisions together. We still have to come to an agreement. One can't be over the other. We're equal. We have to do things together. Luke 11:17 says, "A house divided against itself cannot stand." You know what's going to happen when one partner tries to dominate the other person or be in control or tell the other partner what to do, or even if you're not telling them what to do, but you're making all the decisions behind the scenes without discussing with them. You're deciding what house you're going to live in, what car you're going to buy, what school the kids are going to go to, what big ticket item are we going to buy this year, what vacation we're going to go on. How do you think that's going to work in your relationship or your marriage? It won't. A house divided cannot stand. You guys have to be on the same page. You have to be in agreement. You have to work together. You have to compromise and do these things together. And money and conversations about money and finances would be so much better if we understood and we respected our partner or spouse's view and how they see things. And then we come together and do it together. We make the decisions together. We discuss what we want to do together. And even if our views are different, and even if we may want to do things differently, or have different desires or different values of what we may want, year to year or month to month, that's why we come and sit down together and be in agreement. I can't be over here making plans about the finances and haven't spoke with you and haven't talked to you, and now you've made plans for finances. A house divided against itself won't stand. We have to be in agreement. We have to come together and we have to make these decisions together. Next, remember that you are equals. It doesn't matter who the breadwinner is. If one partner works primarily in the home, it doesn't matter. If one of you guys are a stay-at-home parent and the other works outside of the home, or let's say both of you guys work, but one person makes more money, you're still equals. It doesn't matter what your contribution is monetarily. When you guys, on this point, I'm talking to you if you are married. If you're married and you guys have not said we're two becoming one, we're joining together, we are now a team. It doesn't matter who's bringing what monetarily to the relationship. We're still equals. One doesn't make one better than the other. Being a stay-at-home parent, or maybe you don't make as much money, that doesn't make you less than of the person that's the breadwinner. You guys are equals and you have to treat each other in such a way. We have to remember that we're on the same team. If you don't treat your partner or your spouse like you're on a team, one's going to begin to have resentment. If you're the breadwinner and you treat your partner or your spouse in a way that they're less than because they don't make as much money as you, They're going to build resentment in the relationship. You have to remember that you guys are on a team. If you're into sports, basketball team, football, every person on the team has a different position, but it works together for the betterment of the team. When one person scores the touchdown, the whole team gets the point. When they win, the whole team wins. When they lose, the whole team loses. It's the same way for your relationship and or your marriage. You're on the same team. You have to work together. You guys are equal partners in this relationship. One is no better than the other. And you have to remember that. You guys win together or you lose together. You choose. Next, submit both your wills and views of money to God. When we both view money differently, the only way to be on one accord is submitting to God and giving Him lordship over that area. Don't resist God or don't go against the things you know He wants you to do. So, as partners, you guys have to come together to God in this area. If you view money as one way and your partner views money in another way, instead of us bumping heads and trying to make the other partner agree with us or come to our view of it or change their mind and see it the way we see it or making them give in and do things we want them to do, we both have to submit our views and the way we look at money to God. We have to come in agreement to what God wants us to do, what God says for us to do. And I would encourage you, before you even have a discussion about finances, I know a lot of people have their set aside time where they may get together once a month and discuss their finances, or however you do it in your relationship. I would encourage you to go to God in prayer together. When you guys get ready to sit down and have this conversation, go to God together in prayer. Lord, these are our desires. These are our values. This is what we want to do in our family or our marriage or our relationship. This is kind of how we see our future going, whatever that is, and discuss your values. That's going to be a big one. We discussed that in a previous episode about our values because that's very important. A lot of times how you see money is on your values as well, because think about it. If you're thinking about, oh, I want to put up money for my kids to go to college. Maybe I didn't go to college and this is a big desire for me. I want to make sure when my kids graduate from high school that they have money set aside to go to college. Or my value or my desire is that I want to take family vacations at least twice a year. I want to make sure that we have that time set aside together. Or your value is I want to start my own business and create generational wealth, and maybe my children and my grandchildren can come into this business. If you have these different values, this is something you need to have a conversation with your partner about so you guys can be in agreement together in this. And that's okay if your values may not be exactly the same, but now you can have a conversation on how you guys can come in agreement and compromise how we'll work both of our values out, how we can come in agreement on what we want to do together. And when you guys begin to have that conversation with one another, now you can go to God in prayer. God, this is our desire, for our finances. This is what we want to do. This is our desire for our legacy. This is what we want to do in our marriage with our children, if we have children, or whatever that looks like for you. We want to give more to the poor. We want to be able to do more for the church. We want to help our neighbors. Whatever your desire is, because that could look different for so many, because our values are always different. Our values are not the same. We're different. God created us in such a unique way. We don't all view life the same, but whatever that is, you guys now need to, when you have your things that you want to do, your desires, your values, now you guys begin to submit that to God, meaning this is what I want, but Lord, I'm submitting my will to yours, meaning your will trumps mine. Yes, this is my desire. Yes, this is what I want to do, but Lord, I'm submitting it to you. Now I don't have to bump heads with my partner. Now we don't have to fight and have a war going on because we discuss finances and we seeing it differently and we can't agree and we don't understand why our partner can't see it the way we see it and why you don't understand and what's wrong with you. We don't have to go through that every month when it's time to discuss the finances. I know there are some people here listening to this right now. They're dreading having a conversation about their money with their partner or their spouse. They get sick to the stomach when they think about, oh man, this conversation is coming up. We got to discuss money again. Or especially if you're in a relationship or married to someone that likes to budget, or they're very stickler on how they do money and maybe you're not, it's like you dread it. You don't want to have this conversation with them. You don't want to have to discuss a budget and have to discuss what you spend money on, and you dread it. But that's not the way God wants it to be. This is a hot topic in relationships or marriage. And if I'm sure you guys know, but this is one of the leading causes of divorces is money. And it doesn't have to be that way, but we have to begin to have conversations about it. We have to begin to compromise and come to an agreement and discuss these things together. But the main point I want you to get, we have to submit our wills to God. Yes, this is our desire of what we want to do, but Lord, we trust you. We trust you that you're going to show us the best in our relationship. We trust you that you're going to show us what we should be doing with our finances. Because remember, it don't belong to us. It belongs to him. We're just stewards over it. God, show me what you would have me to do with your money. How can I bless your people? How can I be a vessel for this world? What can I do that will bring you glory? I'm submitting my will to yours. And when you guys are both going to God and submitting it, it's not going to be anything to argue with because now you're on the same page. You're trying to find out from God what he wants you to do. And God is not a God of confusion. He will give you wisdom. He will give you direction. He will show you the way to go. But we both have to come into agreement of that we're going to submit our wills to God. We're going to seek God and see what he wants us to do. Lastly, budget. Budgeting means you tell your money where to go. And trust me, if you don't tell your money where to go, it's going to tell you. You have to have a conversation beforehand. Because if you don't, and you guys view money differently, there's going to be an argument. You're going to bump heads. We have to learn to be proactive and not reactive. You already know these same bills that come up every month are going to come up. You know that if you have children, that your kids are going to need school supplies and uniforms. And if your children are doing extracurricular activity, you know you're going to have to pay for these things. And you know that you guys have to go to the doctor, and you know that you have to buy groceries, and you know that you have to get gas for your vehicles, and you know you got to keep the lights on, and you know these things. You already know these things. So don't wait around and be reactive. Now when all this stuff comes up and maybe you don't have the money, or you don't know where the money was spent, or you don't know where the money is gone, because I told you, if you don't tell your money where to go, it's going to tell you. So now if you haven't had this conversation, now somebody in a relationship is about to be mad because they thought this and this was supposed to be paid and it's not, or they was wondering they thought they was going to have this amount of money left over, but they don't. Somebody's about to be mad. But if you begin to do these budgets and you sit down and have a conversation, you guys have already gone over everything together, and now you're in agreement and you know where the money is going. You know that this amount of money is going to be left over. You know that this bill is going to get paid. You're not just assuming it, but now you guys have sat down, have a conversation, and discussed the budget, and you know exactly where your money is going to go. And when you guys budget, you're able to sit down and see kind of where the money is going. Maybe you had money going in a few different places that you didn't remember, like when you sign up for all these different subscriptions and all these streaming channels and music and all these different things that you kind of forgot that you signed up for. Now you can kind of weave out these things, places where you're losing money that you could be saving. You're kind of being able to see those things that you can cancel and get rid of, and how you maybe can go to a cheaper policy on something. But it's just good to have a budget so you can kind of know where your money is going. And also, when you're discussing your budget, I know one of the big areas is going to be saving. If you're making the money where you're able to pay your primary bills and you're not saving any money, it may be a sign that you guys may be living outside of your means. And if I'm honest, we definitely do that. Not that we're just out here balling in these streets, because that's definitely not what we're doing. But I'm able to see how much money we spend on fast food. We could buy triple the groceries and cook majority of the week if we use the money we spent on eating out on groceries. So just examples of things like that. Money you're maybe wasting on stuff that's not even important, but you could be putting a few dollars back here and there. Again, I told you we balance out one another, because I'm pretty sure it may be a saver in your relationship and it may be a spender. That's usually how it is. But begin to have these conversations together and budget. And budgets can be fun. People hear budgeting and they just dread it, but it can be fun. But the only way it can be is when both voices are being heard. One partner can't tell the person, this is the budget, this is what we're going to do, and this is how it is. No. Remember, we talked about dominating. One partner can't dominate over the other partner. So now we just both bring our values and our ideas and our desires to the table on kind of, this is what I want to do. This month, I want to be able to buy a few extra Christmas gifts for our neighbors down the street. Or Women's Day is coming up next month at church, and I want to be able to put this amount of money back. And those things are okay, but we have to sit down and have a conversation together, come to an agreement on what'll work for your relationship, and begin to budget those items and put them down so you can kind of know what to expect when your paycheck or your payday rolls around. This amount of money is going to be going to this specific area that we already discussed. And another thing with your budget, you guys should have a conversation and agree on how much the other partner can spend without having to check in. I know some of you guys out there like, check in, but yes, you're in a relationship together, especially if you're married. You're two now becoming one. You don't just go out and make decisions and run it up without talking to the other partner, but that can look different for every relationship. But you guys sit down and have a conversation about that. Like, maybe you could say, and this is just an example, you do what works for you, but maybe you guys say $100. If you're going to spend anything over $100, we need to talk to one another first. We need to check in and make sure that's going to be good, that that's going to work for us. Because honestly, one person can forget about a bill that was going to be coming out that month. But now when you begin to talk to your partner about it, they can remind you. And now you guys are in agreement. Oh, yeah, I forgot we had to pay student loan payment this month, or an IRS payment, or whatever that bill is that may have slipped your mind. Your partner can remind you of that. But maybe it's $50 for you. Maybe it's $200 for you. You guys do what works for your relationship, because I don't live with you guys and I'm not in your books. You guys know your business way better than I do. But have an agreement about that, whatever that amount is, and stick to it. If you guys said you're going to check in if you spend anything over $50, do that. It's not like you're asking for permission and one partner is dominating you and telling you what you can and can't do. You guys are just coming into agreement to make sure that's going to work for you guys. And then there's no issues. You're now being proactive instead of reactive. I'm not just going to go out here and swipe my card and spend $200 on a Michael Kors bag and then wonder why my husband fly off the handle when he see the bank statement. You get what I'm saying? So be proactive. Don't be reactive. Have a conversation with your partner, even if this is not something you used to. Maybe you didn't see this growing up. Maybe this is not the way it's been in your relationship, but that money is an issue for you guys. That you guys, things always fly off the handle when you have to discuss finances, or one person gets mad, or one person shuts down, or one person says they don't even want to talk about it anymore. That's not how you want that to be in your relationship. You want to be able to freely talk about and discuss everything. That's what your desire is. So now these are just practical tips to help you get there. And another thing that budgeting helps with, it helps with the stress, because what happens is when you don't know where your money is going and the money is gone, you get paid on Friday and the money's gone Friday night, and you wondering where it all went to. But when you begin to sit down and discuss with your partner or your spouse about the budget, you kind of know where all the money is going to, and you can kind of make sure you have money to pay yourself and maybe put a few dollars in savings, or, whatever you're telling the money to go or what the money is going to do. It relieves the stress, because what stress does, it robs us of the joy and freedom that we can have in our relationships. I don't have to be mad every time payday rolls around, because I know we got to pay all these bills and I'm not going to have no money and I'm tired of living like that. You don't have to live like that. But when you don't tell your money where to go, your money is going to tell you where to go. And that's not a life you want to live, where your money is running you, because that's going to be a stress-filled life. And if you're stressed, you know what you're going to do? You're going to bring that same stress to your partner or to your spouse in a relationship. And now you guys are going to argue. Every time it's about money, you're going to argue. money or finance is going to be a hot topic in your household. And that's not what you want. You don't want your money to control you in your relationship. You want to be able to control your money. Luke 14:28-30. It says, suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? For if you lay down the foundation and are not able to finish it, everyone who sees it will ridicule you, saying, this person began to build and wasn't able to finish. And that's what happens, you guys, when we don't budget. We make all these plans and it looks good and sounds good. But when we haven't taken the time out to make a plan and count the costs and figure out what we're going to need to do this is how we'll end up looking like this man who started off, he had great plans, but he didn't count his costs. He didn't realize how much it really was going to cost him. And all he ended up was with the foundation. We don't want that to be us. We want to have a plan in place. We want to be in agreement with our plan. We want to submit our plan and our wills to God and make sure this is what God wants us to do. And if it's not, we need to change our plan. We don't make a plan and ask God to bless what we want, to do what we want, but we submit our plan or we submit our will to God and we come into agreement with what he wants. We respect our partner's views on money and that they see money in a different way than us. We work together. No partner dominates over the other partner, but we are equals and we are in this thing together. And remember that you guys are on the same team. The enemy would love nothing more but to tear your house up, to tear your marriage up, to tear your relationship up, to tear your family up. That's his desire. He's like a roaring lion walking around here waiting to see who he can devour. Don't let that be you. You guys work together. Be in agreement. Have a conversation. Be proactive, not reactive. Submit your wills to God and watch and see how God blesses you. I promise you, money will not always have to be a hot topic in your relationship. It won't always have to be something that you avoid talking about or you dread talking about. It won't have to be that way. You'll begin to tell your money where to go, and it's not telling you where to go. God will begin to lead you and guide you and give you wisdom about your finances and how you guys can be in agreement. Don't you want to be there? Don't that sound good? It sounds good to me. I hope this helped you guys on today. I love you. I'll see you next week. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Follow me on Facebook at Demo with Mo. If you have any questions you would like answered here live on my podcast, email them to me at demowithmo@gmail.com. That's DEMOWITHMO@gmail.com.